Hi, everybody. I'm Sheila McAlister. I am the director of the Digital Library of Georgia. And today I'm going to talk to you about some of the technology work that we've been doing over the past year and looking forward to our sort of priorities for the next fiscal year. So when DLG talks about our sort of technology goals, we really are looking at making sure that what we do is sustainable. So that involves us getting on the same technology stack as is used elsewhere in Galileo. So that includes things like blacklight and solar, which are also being used for the Galileo redesign. And it means getting rid of sort of older deprecated technologies. So we also want to make sure that we're improving our users' experience and that of our partners. So let's talk a little bit about our tech roadmap for 2021. So one of the new services that DLG started this year was archive space hosting. In the past, we had, in a sort of ad hoc way, hosted an archival management system called Archivist Toolkit, and then XTF sites for public discovery of archival materials for about 3 or 4 different institutions. It was not a very sustainable. For one thing, Archivist Toolkit is no longer being supported, and XTF itself is an aging technology, although others are still using it. At the same time, we saw that there was a need among our smaller partner organizations for archival management systems that were a little bit lower cost than what is available from some of the other vendors. So we began a pilot with University of West Georgia, Auburn Avenue Research Library, and the Atlanta History Center to set up sort of our processes and sort of the technology that would allow us to offer this low cost hosting to our partners. And I'm happy to say that it's been very successful to date. We have 4 partners who are live now, and then we have 2 others that will be coming live in time for the fall semester. One of the things that that is allowed us to do this is that our developers and our sysadmins have moved to a technology infrastructure that allows them to roll out changes to all of our partners at the same time. So it's much faster and much more sustainable. We've also been sunsetting some of our standalone sites. At one point in time, we had about 20 different sort of what I would say are boutique sites. And so we've incorporated them into the DLG's main Georgia portal so that they are discoverable there, and folks are not popped out into a new and different interface. So it provides a more seamless user experience. In addition, it's allowed us to provide better statistics, Google Analytics for our partners, because we have control over those URLs, and all of that data is in one place. There are still some of our those standalone or boutique sites that are still have not been incorporated. They're the harder ones. We're in the process of still working on how we're going to incorporate the Georgia legislative documents, the Georgia government publications, our the Civil Rights Digital Library, and there's something else I'm forgetting. But look for those changes over the next year or so. Right. So we were really excited to be able to debut an initiative with the new Georgia Encyclopedia to provide online exhibits to the public at large. What this has allowed us to do is give opportunities to graduate students in Georgia to develop exhibits. It has streamlined the workflow, and in that New Georgia Encyclopedia does not have an exhibit site, and DLG doesn't have a separate exhibit site. That we're working together, and we're featuring our partners' materials. So part of what's exciting about this online exhibit site, aside from the people part, is that it is built on Blacklight, which again is that technology that that the new Galileo portal and the DLG site are both working with. So our next exciting implementation is our implementation of the IIIF. So IIIF is the International Image Interoperability Framework. And this is a tool that allows content manifests or JSON, sort of XML JSON records to be shared, and then you can pull you can pull things into the same viewing frame. So for example, I have a screenshot of two different Thomasville, Georgia Sanborn maps, one from 1885, and the other one should be from 1889, and you can compare the two. So what I'm gonna, if there's time at the end, I'll give you a demo of how that works. And it also will allow us to embed other institutions who have those IIIF manifests. If we have the manifest address, we can embed their image in a way that they want us. So that gives us better, gives our users a larger image to look at. So if you look at the screen, you'll see on the left what a record currently looks like in DLG. And then on the right, you'll see what it would look like when we implement our new IIIF viewer and use the manifest that Georgia State has provided us. So next, I'm going to move on to what we're working on for this coming fiscal year. Really, our big long-term project are to replace the CRDL's front end, because we've already replaced its back end. But even more important and down the road is for us to incorporate our Georgia historic newspapers into our Georgia portal. The platform that we use for our newspapers right now is has been deprecated. It used to be supported by the Library of Congress, and they're no longer supporting that. They themselves are moving in a similar manner to the way we're moving, in that they are going to be incorporating their newspapers into the Library of Congress website. So one of the things that that we are doing some investigation into is the possibility of us hosting a statewide finding aid database. And we're doing a pilot where we're testing workflows, including using APIs and the like to harvest finding aids from our partner organizations and making them available in a statewide database. We need to be able to do this in an efficient way without increasing our staff overly. So again, this is just a pilot and we'll see whether that works well or not, and if it's something that we can absorb as a service. So on the screen, you'll see an example. I searched for race in our test environment, and you can see that we've got a collection that's from the Brennan Museum in Atlanta, and then one from the Atlanta History Center. As many of you may be aware, we are very serious about making sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility are incorporated into the DLG's website and the work that we do more generally. One of the first sort of public portal things that we've done is the ability for our partners to suggest or identify collections for which they would like us to add a harmful content statement. As part of our inclusivity endeavors, we are going to be working with GALILEO support staff and our the developers to develop harmful content notifications, so that if somebody identifies a piece of content and they are concerned and feel like it's harmful content, that there will be a mechanism for them to report that content, and then we will share with our partners this this notification, and then give them some options of things that we might do that might be done to incorporate, to be inclusive and make other users feel welcome. So as I mentioned before, we're looking at moving our civil rights digital library to a new technology, as the back end is running on Blacklight and Solar and an SQL database, but our front end isn't. This move to the Blacklight and Solar stack is going to allow our users to have a similar experience to that of the Georgia portal. It's also going to allow us to feature some collections that we haven't featured before. One of the big things that we're going to need to figure out for this move to the new technology is some name control issues because of the very popular People Browse site. And so this will also get us closer to being able to do some link to open data in the future. And also figuring out how and whether or not we can deliver video using the IIIF framework. Again, that would improve users' experience. It would also allow them, if they take that JSON manifest address with them, to be able to embed it into another viewer easily. By far, our most popular product is our Georgia Historic Newspapers site. We've been microfilming newspapers since the 1950s, and it is a dying technology. So we have been working with a small group of publishers to pilot workflows so that we can incorporate newspapers, more current newspapers, by using the PDF files, for example, that that publishers provide us. So this is an ongoing project, and over the long term, we're hoping that we'll be able to provide more current newspapers for free through the Georgia Historic Newspaper site. All right. So I did want to also add that part of what we need to figure out for the our Georgia Historic Newspapers integration is making sure that we keep the functionality that our users expect. So those are things like article clipping, hit highlighting, and the like. And so over this next year, we are hoping to figure out the issues of incorporating searchability into the IIIF, our IIIF viewer, and how to incorporate full text at a page level in a sustainable way. We'll also be working on figuring out sort of the seriality issues. This is not only is this an issue for our Georgia Historic Newspaper site, but for our Georgia Government Publications site, that's also a feature. That's also a collection that relies on large serial sets. So those are the final two pieces into that puzzle. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this so I can do a quick demo. But before I go forward, I just wanted to check and see if there were any questions on what I've talked about so far. Seeing nothing in the chat, so I'm gonna do my demo. Okay. One moment, I'm sorry for the technology issues. Okay, here we are. So here you can see, you should be able to see, this is our staging server where we're working with our this new mirandor viewer. You can see that this Thomasville 1885 map. If our default view would be without the data, but that doesn't allow us to compare other maps. So what I can do is I can pull the IIIF manifest from this 1889 version of the map. In selecting the image comparison in the viewer, then I click on the plus, and then I can add that manifest. And then I can view them. So I can close this, I can see more of it. Oops. So I can see more of it. And then I can compare them by using sorry about that. Close this so we can compare the two maps. And what I'm going to do is do this in large. So I can blow this map up here, and then I can blow this map up here, and then I can compare the two very easily. So that's one of the really great features about IIIF. I could, if I wanted to, also add another manifest for a different year. Or if I wanted to include, say, excuse me. All right, I'm going to stop this guy. Wait 1 second while I pull up. I'm Georgia State example. So I am on my stagings river again. So the way that this viewer looks is driven by the that manifest file or manifest link that Georgia State has sent us. So it, along with the image, you get the metadata, as well as you'll see that there's IIIF manifest is available here. So if you copy that, you can pull it into another mirandor viewer or other IIIF viewer. Okay, I'm gonna check and see if we have any other questions. If you are interested in having your learning more about IIIF, we will be having a town hall in mid-July where Meg O'Hearn from IIIF will be speaking, and as will Rachel Sinise from Georgia State, who is one of our pilot partners on the IIIF incorporation. We are hoping to share our partner IIIF manifests with the Digital Public Library of America as well. And we're hoping that this is also going to help our partners' statistics in DPLA go up because users are more likely to interact with materials that have larger images. Chat questions. I see that we have a number of the developers here. Does do any of that you all have comments that you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of. This is Sean.
Thanks, John. And we're really, really excited about all of these changes that are coming up. You know, we have a fabulous technology team, and it's really exciting for us to be able to use these sort of new frameworks and opportunities. And, you know, being on the same stack as Galileo is certainly helpful for us.
Yeah, this is Seamus. I'm a lead developer with Galileo, and I've really had a chance to sort of get my hands dirty with IIIF, and I'm really excited of what we can do in terms of annotations and searching within things. Just you know, it gives us a great baseline to prepare us for opening up resources for users and researchers alike. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do with it.
So I just wanted to add one other thing. If you are at an organization that uses Content DM and you are interested in having us incorporate your IIIF manifests into the DLG site, please feel free to contact me, and we can start working with you to harvest your manifests. Just a word about sort of the go live of the new viewer. We think this is going to go live in the fall. We want to make sure we need to do some accessibility testing to make sure that what we put out there is going to be as usable for as many people as possible. We also want to do some usability testing. So we are working with our small preliminary team of Angela Stanley from GPLS and Russell from Galileo, as well as what's her name? Valerie Glenn from the Map and Government Information Library at UGA are going to be doing some first stabs at answering some questions we have about the usability, the display, and all of that. After we take their initial feedback, we'll work with our portal design committee, and we'll develop a web survey for them to interact with the site and with and do some, and then report back to us. And then based on their feedback, we will of course be prioritizing and updating. As with all of DLG's technology changes to our interfaces, we work in an iterative way. And so, for example, our IIIF implementation is sort of our basic implementation. And then down the road, as Seamus mentioned, we'll be incorporating annotations, and we'll also be working with the full text and searchability using IIIF, and then finally with delivering video and sound materials via IIIF. Any questions, comments? So I'm going to put a question out to all of you. Are there technology things that you would like DLG to tackle for me?
I have a question, Sheila.
Sure. Thanks, Rachel.
I know in a lot of the DLG forums and some of the partners event, we've done a lot of talking about the objectionable content statements and sort of how you'll be how DLG will be handling that on an item level basis. I didn't know if you had like a timeline for that.
So so that inclusivity and reporting feature is gonna be coming out probably early in the next fiscal year. We have some, it's not really a technology issue. It's more of a people issue at this point. of figuring out the best way to do that. We already are allowing people to report at a collection level harmful content statements. I think a really hard thing for us is figuring out what's the balance between marking at an item level and marking at a collection level. Does that answer your question, Rachel?
It does. Thank you so much.
So since there are no more questions, I'm going to thank you all for coming and give you the gift of 30 minutes back in your life. So thanks again for joining me. Bye.